Welcome to the Kara Michelle Show, where we break out of the matrix together and return heaven to earth. This is a place for the spiritual seekers and leaders, the dreamers and doers, the conscious creators and world changers. You can expect a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but mostly a whole lot of purpose, freedom, and sovereignty. And of course, all things quantum. May this podcast serve you in remembering the truth of who you are, all that you came here to do, and how deeply supported you are in doing it. You are incredibly powerful and your mission is protected. So it's time to dial up your frequency and recalibrate to your higher self and limitless potential. Get ready, because we're about to blast off. A new reality awaits you on the other side. I'll see you there. If you have been wanting to tap into a new layer of inner confidence, this is the fastest way to do it. And this is coming from someone who spent her whole life feeling like she wasn't good enough, being the silent wallflower, stuck in insecurities and anxiety because I was so afraid of what people were thinking of me. And if you live your life in this place of fear of judgment, naturally, that is because you're not feeling confident or secure within yourself, and you're basing your view of yourself, you're basing your own worth in whether or not other people see that, versus confidently walking into any room, owning who you are and loving who you are. And I didn't know this years ago, but I would say the more I focused on the inner healing and coming back into alignment with what is my core truth? Who am I really? And how do I want to show up in the world? The more confident I started to become in letting that authentic self show. So, of course, doing the healing work, the releasing work, looking at traumas and past pain and things that were playing out and making me feel unworthy or small or insecure, as well as looking at the programming of society, of media, TV shows, movies, music, magazines growing up, all these things that give us an image of what we think we should be versus being taught and empowered in being our true selves. But with that said, the biggest thing that has helped me on this journey and created the greatest quantum leaps is the quantum healing hypnosis work. And I just came out of one of my practices. This is actually one of my free recordings. So if you're wanting to give this a try, check the links down below. It is my quantum queen hypnosis to activate your inner queen and really step into your power. I'm going to be explaining the process and the huge breakthroughs I had and the shift that took place for me in those 30 minutes, because I want you to understand how quickly this change can take place when you're working with your subconscious. And I want you to see how this deeper reprogramming actually creates the lasting changes that you're looking for, because you've probably heard positive affirmations, you've probably tried lots of positive affirmations. And although I love those, don't get me wrong, I definitely have gone through my phases of post-it notes around the house and covering my mirrors and the affirmations and all that stuff. But those are just a band-aid fix for a deeper root issue. So if we do not go into the subconscious beliefs first, those affirmations have nowhere to land. Your mind isn't going to actually believe them. I'm sure you've had moments in your life where you tried to use positive affirmations or reframe things in a way that would support you moving forward, but you didn't actually believe it. You couldn't get behind it. And your mind was like, oh yeah, great. That's a great story, but it's not true, because the underlying subconscious beliefs that were playing out, or that your mind has stored and held as fact and created an identity around, we're telling you the opposite. So we're going to get into this, but as I mentioned, the Quantum Queen Hypnosis, if you want to try it out, it's linked in the description down below. For any of my kings out there listening, I love you. If you would like to be supported with this as well, send me a message on Instagram or comment below if you're listening to this recording on YouTube. But because I would love to create a Quantum King hypnosis as well to help you tap into that inner king and feel really empowered and strong and secure in that full expression of who you are. So, without further ado, let's get into this exact practice that I just went through and why it is the fastest thing. Because, as I mentioned, with positive affirmations, you can do those every single day. You can do them all day. But the underlying beliefs you carry hold so much more power. Our subconscious mind rules about 95% of our life, which means the things that are playing out on autopilot that you're not even aware of. You think about the first time you drive a car and how you have to be so conscious. You have to be so incredibly aware of every single thing. And it's like, it's so overwhelming, at least when I first started. And you're like looking in every direction. You know, you've got all these different buttons and gears and things that are so new to you that you have to be extremely conscious. But once you do that, once that repetition takes place, the more and more you do it, depending how long you've been driving for, you probably know that now everything just feels on autopilot. And probably also like in the going through the motions, not quite as aware as maybe you were at the beginning. And that's because your unconscious mind already has learned and patterned in the behaviors for driving. And so it feels like something that is super well known, super easy. And also, on a confidence note, you probably feel quite confident doing it because you've done it for so long. Now, how this translates to your subconscious mind and your current confidence levels is that if you've spent your whole life telling yourself certain stories or believing that you're not good enough for some kind of reason or fueling insecurities, focusing on mistakes, that has become patterned in. You've been driving that car for a really long time. It feels comfortable. It actually feels very like secure and easy for you to believe those things or stay on that track because that's the track you've known. When we work with the subconscious and when we do things like quantum healing hypnosis or breath work can be a really amazing practice for this as well. And EFT tapping, if you do it right, is really, really amazing and powerful at shifting these things in a fast way because we're getting into the subconscious and we can rewrite that old belief pattern or take the new path to start driving somewhere new and with repetition believing that new story. So as I did my quantum queen hypnosis earlier today, what was so powerful for me is that there's a part of this hypnosis where you are letting go of the things that don't serve you. So, specific beliefs, specific smallness. For me, this was ways that I have been holding myself back or stuck in overthinking and like over analyzing mode. Unfortunately, that is what my mind does, which is why I'm great at analyzing myself and others and patterns and programming. But at times, it's like just gets me stuck there. And so I was working on letting go of that, as well as letting go of identities that I had been in the past and ways that I had been showing up that were really misaligned, that were stemmed and rooted in my insecurities. So maybe this was people pleasing, and maybe it was ways that I would dishonor what felt best for me because I was afraid of rocking the boat or upsetting someone else. And so instead, I just upset myself, basically. Or it was ways in my business that I gave too much power to strategy and thinking other people knew better than me, instead of just showing up as myself and just being me and letting that be enough. And those are two primary examples: people pleasing in relationships and authenticity in business, that for me personally were playing out for quite a while. And I had made huge strides with them, but then kind of fallen back because I stopped focusing on this shift. And so, in this acknowledging and letting them go, seeing myself move these beliefs, move them out of my body, out of my energy field, separate them from myself so that I didn't feel identified with them anymore. It's like, oh, they're just right over there, and I can see them and I can acknowledge them, but I am not them. And that makes a huge difference for the subconscious mind to no longer identify as that thing or as that belief. And then after doing that in the hypnosis practice, it's about reconnecting to the inner queen, to feeling embodied and empowered, to tapping into your leadership, your voice, who you are, what you're here to do, the way that you were designed to lead by being you, like the confidence in your authentic self. All these things that most of us as children had programmed out of us because we were programmed to think we needed to fit in and think that we needed to be someone different instead of taught how to embrace who we truly are. So as I tapped into that, it was like the most beautiful, overwhelming feeling of these emotions. And I like to see it as a chance to recollect lost parts of yourself or lost fragments. Truly, it's on a quantum level, it's lost quanta. It's literally particles that particles of energy that have been left behind in those moments that you maybe abandon yourself to people please, or in those moments where I wasn't true to myself and I followed something else in business even though it didn't feel good. It's literally like I'm taking little parts of myself, little energy particles, and I'm giving them to someone else or to something else instead of holding them within me and being full, sovereign, like all of me recollected and standing here strong and empowered. It's why when you have spent a lifetime people pleasing, for example, let's just stick with that because I've started there. When you've spent a lifetime people pleasing, you feel very small and disempowered. You feel like you don't matter and like you can't stand strong in yourself because you have actually given little bits of yourself away your whole life. So you're not standing there as the full expression of who you are. And that's why as we do things like hypnosis, things like deep energy work, to bring that back and feel what it's like to stand firm in your body or to speak up for yourself and your needs. And you start to take the physical actions from a more empowered, grounded, and whole place, that you realize you're actually operating like a totally different version of you. And that's because you are ultimately on the deepest core level. So in this practice, as I started to connect to that queen energy and seeing myself, seeing the way I want to show up in the world, seeing the way I know that I can show up in the world if I stop giving my power away to these other things that are not serving me and are not aligned. It's the most transformative, empowering experience to not only acknowledge that, but to feel it and ground it in your body. And as you're listening, I invite you to even tap into this energy of like, if right now you were already operating from that future self, if you already had the things that you think would make you feel more confident, or if you were already speaking up and acting the way that you desire to, fully embodying and honoring yourself, setting the healthy boundaries, protecting yourself. And you can still be operating from love, while having these boundaries and knowing what you will and won't tolerate. Allowing yourself to feel that in your body and normalizing that. Seeing that this actually is available for you right now to start to feel that way and show up that way. And imagine if you could tap into that beautiful energy right now and then continue about the rest of your day from this version of you, from the queen or from the king, when I get that recorded for you. This will really get me to take action on that, because it's one of the many recordings that I want to get to that I've been kind of slacking on, procrastinating. So imagine that you're already connected to that consciousness. And this is what's happening in the subconscious reprogramming, because it's beyond the fact of repatterning old ways and, driving a new path and teaching yourself how to drive and drive and drive the new program until it becomes autopilot like the old program was. But more so than that, it's about tapping into the consciousness of this being. So I have a practice that one of my mentors taught me, and it's so powerful. It's called the Lion Codes, and it's connecting to the consciousness of the lion, which is obviously the king of the jungle. And we know how empowered and strong and like spoken. It's obviously not speaking, but you know what I mean. It's like, and protective, and like, yeah, stands for what it believes in, like takes no shit. The consciousness of a lion is a very different level of consciousness. Just like the consciousness of a queen is a very different level of consciousness than a little girl, than the little people pleaser, than the small self from me who was feeling like her authentic self wasn't enough and she needed another strategy. All these things that are different levels of consciousness. And for the sake of this episode, we're not even judging it. For the sake of life in general, I think it's great not to judge it. But being aware that when you're operating from a small self, you're operating from a lower level of consciousness, potentially even a fragmented level of consciousness, because you have given away so much of yourself over the years that you don't even know who you fully are. You don't know how to speak up for yourself or stand empowered in it, because it's been so long since you felt that way. And so as you do these practices, which is why I'm obsessed with this work, it's why I spend time every day doing quantum healing and connecting energetically, as well as using the hypnosis to reprogram in. I do it daily because I'm able to constantly clear out the things that are blocking me and program in or hypnotize, which I don't really consider this full hypnosis, but for the sake of easy explanation and easy labels, it's similar and we can call it that, because you are shifting the brain state and the identity that you have. So in a sense, I'm hypnotizing myself today in that practice to believe like I am a queen. And since that's the truth, how do I carry myself? How do I speak? How do I show up? And what I love is that the way I'm communicating in this recording is different than how I've recorded previous ones. There's nothing wrong with how I did the previous ones. They were a lot more calm and really soft. Right now I feel like activated and fired up and extra empowered to just share this and speak from this place. So there's a difference in how I'm already acting, because I started to take that power back in those 30 minutes of the hypnosis recording to connect to that queen consciousness, that queen version of me, and how empowered I would feel within myself if that were the core truth of who I am. So this is why anytime you're looking to build more confidence in who you are and let go of insecurities or the doubts that are making you feel small, or anytime you catch yourself in unwanted patterns or habits that aren't actually serving you and where you're going, the best thing you can do is not to try harder in the physical and force or prove or chase or do anything you think to like manipulate reality or make it happen. The absolute best thing you can do is literally stop and slow down and focus on the subconscious work, because there are beliefs playing out, there are old patterns playing out, there are old stories and maybe past pains playing out that are there from that lower level of consciousness from the past, and it's causing you to operate from that way of being. But the second you shift that, and the second you see yourself differently, not as simple as saying an affirmation of I'm a queen, I'm a king, I am confident. Like that doesn't ground in and land if you haven't done the deeper work to create space for that so that that's believable. But once you do that, then all of these new things land. And I'm standing here as I record this, looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, I know the truth of who I am, and I know the path and the trajectory of what I'm taking moving forward. And I'll tell you, after doing that hypnosis today, I also set some huge boundaries with people in my life that were draining me and holding me back, and where my people pleaser self was afraid, my peacemaker was afraid to stand up for herself because she didn't want to hurt them. And the queen came in and she did it from love, she did it from kindness, she did it from the highest good of all, and she put the things in place. She knew what she wanted and she went and acted upon it immediately. Immediately. And it's so easy for our insecurities or our doubts to hold us back from taking that immediate action because we have all these other memories or proofs that are making us fear the unknown and fear our own power. So I'm going to end that here because I could probably talk about this forever. But I would love for you to experience this. If you haven't done any of my free quantum healing recordings, I have a number of them linked down below. And like I said, specifically the queen one to activate your inner queen and take your power back. For those who know me and my story, with experiences of rape and trauma and sexual harassment, sexual assault all the time, these moments where my voice felt like it was taken away and silenced and muted, and going all the way back to childhood trauma and abandonment wounds, all these things. This has been the most powerful, impactful work in my life to do the quantum healing hypnosis. And I've never experienced anything that has allowed me to consistently create these shifts and these results in the inner world first, but then you can immediately translate them into the outer world. So if you're looking for a way to feel more confident, try this out. Go click the link right now. And as I said, for my kings, if you're interested as well, send me a message. Let me know. I need to record this. I want to record this. It would mean so much to me to know there's people who are already waiting and interested, and that would support me in like getting it done faster for you. So let me know and I will get on creating that. And in the meantime, please just know that whatever your current story is, you don't have to continue believing it. In fact, you shouldn't, because it was programmed from your childhood. It is playing out from a lifetime. And the more we play it, the more we drive that road, the more autopilot it becomes. The more we're just like, oh, this is what it is. This is normal. This is truth. The more we stay trapped in that consciousness. And the absolute best thing you can ever do is take another road. Start printing in a new belief, printing in a new self-image, seeing yourself in the mirror in a new way, stepping into the identity of the future version of you, because their level of consciousness is probably 1,000 times ahead your current level of consciousness. This is why everything in my life and my greatest healing and my greatest quantum leaps have come from my higher self or future self guiding me from that place. Like, she's already there and she's like, bro, just do this. Do this thing and then I'll meet you there. And I'm like, oh, like, it's about acting from a different version of me, because my current self, operating on the current patterns, living with the current beliefs, saying the current stories, thinking the current thoughts, she's not getting there. She's not a vibrational match. She's living in a different timeline and a different reality. So you bridge that gap, you collapse the timelines when you become that future version now, and you connect to the confidence, the beliefs, the habits, the actions. You align with it, and you will be shocked at how quickly all the other things in the external reality shift for you, because you are living in a totally new way. And quantum theory, like attracts like. You shift your being, you're going to become a vibrational match for that corresponding reality. So it starts with you, and it starts with the confidence and the full embodiment and reprogramming it on the deepest possible level. So thank you so much for listening. Check out the links, and I will see you on the next episode.